Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that the one thing you've been avoiding, the truth, is the very thing that could set your soul on fire, not gently, not softly, but with a force that shatters everything you thought you knew? The truth isn't soft, it isn't nice, and it certainly isn't safe. The truth is dangerous. It doesn't ask for your permission, and it doesn't wait for your readiness. It knocks the door down. It comes in uninvited, stripping away everything false you've built around yourself, your lies, your excuses, your masks. And it does it without mercy, because that's what truth is. It's not here to comfort you. It's here to wake you up. You see, people crave safety, they crave certainty, validation, approval, so they tell themselves stories that keep them feeling secure. I'm doing my best. This is just who I am. It's not my fault. But deep down, buried beneath those safe little sentences, is something terrifying and undeniable reality. The raw, uncomfortable, blinding reality that says, you're not doing your best. You're avoiding responsibility. You're capable of far more, but you're scared, and who wouldn't be, because truth doesn't just show you the world. It shows you yourself, the parts of you that are weak, lazy, bitter, afraid, and when you see that, it burns, it threatens your identity, it kills your illusions, but here's what they won't tell you. That pain you feel when truth hits you, that's the beginning of your freedom. The truth shocks you for a reason. It has to, it shakes you so you'll stop living half asleep. It explodes in your mind because it's waking up something ancient in you. Potential, power, fire, the capacity to face life with open eyes and a steel spine. And you'll never find that in comfort, never in lies. People think they want truth, but what they really want is a version of it that doesn't disrupt their lives. A version that lets them stay small, stay liked, stay safe. But real truth doesn't play nice like that. It says, you're overweight because you're undisciplined. You're broke because you make poor decisions. You're miserable because you refuse to confront your past. And hearing that, it can crush you, but listen carefully. That crushing is holy, because it's not destruction for the sake of pain, it's transformation. It's the forging of something new. When you let the truth tear down your illusions, what's left standing is you, raw, real, and finally strong. That's when you become dangerous, because a person who's made peace with truth can't be manipulated, can't be broken, can't be stopped. So no, the truth isn't safe. It's not supposed to be, but it is powerful, more powerful than any lie you'll ever cling to. And once you let it in, once you surrender to it, you'll find something astonishing, the strength to rebuild your life from the ground up, this time on solid ground. Are you ready for that kind of truth? You're not who you think you are. You've built a version of yourself based on what was easy, what was accepted, what didn't get you judged. You've been playing a role, shaped by your upbringing, your fears, the expectations of others, and the path of least resistance. But that version, it's just a mask, it's not you. The truth is, you've only scratched the surface of what you're capable of. And the longer you keep clinging to this comfortable identity, the longer you'll stay stuck in mediocrity, wondering why you feel so unfulfilled, so restless, so disconnected from something deeper. Because something is missing. And what's missing is you. The real you is not small, not passive, not broken by the opinions of others. The real you is potential. Wild, untapped, roaring potential. The real you scares you a little, doesn't it? Because if you truly saw yourself, if you saw the courage, the grit, the raw power inside you, you'd have to stop making excuses. You'd have to stop hiding behind doubt. You'd have to take responsibility for what you could become. And that's terrifying, because the second you accept that you're more than who you think you are, everything changes. No more blaming your past, no more leaning on others to define you, just you, face to face with the mountain of potential that demands to be climbed. You think you're your personality, your habits, your past. You're not. You're not your failures, you're not your trauma. You're not the kid who was ignored or the adult who was misunderstood. Those things happen, they're real, but they don't get to define you unless you let them. You've been telling yourself a story about who you are, and that story has kept you safe. But safety isn't growth, comfort isn't strength, and the story you've told yourself is nowhere near the truth of what you could be. You want to know the truth. You're a force of nature pretending to be tame. You've got rage that could become drive. You've got fear that could become focus. You've got dreams you don't talk about because they're too big for the person you currently believe yourself to be. But they're not too big for who you really are. If you could see even a glimpse of the potential sleeping inside you, your heart would beat faster. You'd feel that spark, that fire that says, "There's more in me than I've ever dared to imagine," and you'd be right. But here's the catch. Becoming who you really are requires sacrifice. You have to let the false version of yourself die. You have to let go of being liked by everyone. Let go of staying comfortable. Let go of your excuses. Because there's a version of you waiting on the other side of all that, stronger, sharper, more alive. And once you meet that version of yourself, you'll wonder why you ever settled for anything less. Lies will rot your soul. The smallest falsehoods you tell yourself, the little compromises you make in your thoughts, the things you avoid facing, all of these chip away at you in ways you can't even imagine. You might think that lying is harmless, that telling yourself stories will get you through the day, that you can lie to avoid confrontation or to protect your feelings. But the truth is, lies don't just disappear when you tell them. They accumulate. They spread like a cancer, quietly eating away at your integrity, your clarity, your ability to trust yourself. Every lie you tell, no matter how small, deepens the distance between who you truly are and who you pretend to be. And the further you go down that path, the more lost you become. You start to forget what it feels like to be authentic, to stand tall in the truth of your existence. You lose track of your core values, your purpose, and eventually you'll find yourself drowning in a sea of falsehoods. The lies you tell others become the lies you tell yourself, and over time you forget which ones are real. You begin to believe in a version of yourself that doesn't exist. It's a shell, an illusion, a performance. And in that lie, you become lost. What lies do to your soul is far worse than what they do to your relationships. Yes, lying to others creates distrust, distance, and destruction. But when you lie to yourself, it's even more insidious. It keeps you from facing the reality of your life, from confronting the uncomfortable truths that demand your attention. You avoid the things that need to be fixed, you ignore your growth, and you dismiss your own responsibility. And this isn't just about the big lies, it's the small ones too. The excuses you make for not changing, for not growing, for staying in your comfort zone. Every time you say, "I can't," when you know you can, every time you tell yourself that you're fine when deep down you're not, you're feeding that rot. Eventually, this self-deception becomes a prison. You'll find yourself stuck in a cycle of self-justification, constantly rationalizing your weaknesses, your inaction, your flaws. The more you lie, the more you have to lie to cover up the first lie. It's a slippery slope, and every lie takes you further from the truth. The longer you live this way, the more exhausted you become, because lies require constant maintenance. They require a part of your soul to be buried, hidden, and distorted. And in the end, the truth always demands to be seen, whether you're ready for it or not. It doesn't go away, it doesn't forget, and when the truth finally breaks through, it will tear apart everything the lies have built, because lies are fragile. They have no foundation, they're built on nothing more than fear. When you live truthfully, you free yourself. You start to rebuild your life from a foundation of integrity, and with that foundation comes clarity, strength, and peace. The rot will fade, the weight will lift. The person you've been hiding from will finally step into the light, and that person, the real you, will be stronger, more resilient, and more capable than you ever imagined. The truth isn't easy, but it's the only thing that can set you free. The truth demands sacrifice, and that's where many people falter. We like to think that truth is something we can casually pick up, something we can handle without consequence. But the truth in its rawest form is never easy. It will cost you something, maybe everything, before it lets you move forward. When you open yourself to the truth, you're signing up for discomfort, loss, and hard choices. It's not just about confronting the world around you, but about facing what lies within. And that process is messy, painful, and often downright terrifying. When you decide to face the truth, you start tearing down the walls you've built to protect yourself from it. The lies, the illusions, the delusions you've clung to for years, they all start to crumble, and when they fall, they leave you vulnerable. You might lose friends, relationships, or jobs. You might lose parts of yourself that were once comfortable or familiar. The truth will demand that you shed your old skin and walk naked into the world, ready to face whatever comes your way without the armor of denial. It's not a pretty picture, but it's one that you must accept if you want to grow. And this is where the sacrifice happens. Every time you decide to live truthfully, you give up something. It could be your pride, your ego, or even your need to be liked by others. You may have to let go of the people who only loved the version of you that wasn't truly you. You might need to walk away from a career or a situation that has been feeding you false promises of security, but at the cost of your happiness and authenticity. The truth makes no room for compromise. It demands that you choose reality over comfort. And reality is often a harsh teacher. The truth will also demand you let go of your past. It will ask you to confront your failures, regrets, and mistakes, not to wallow in them, but to learn and move forward. You'll have to face the ugly, uncomfortable parts of your story, and that can feel like losing a part of yourself. Letting go of your past is a painful process because it's the foundation of who you thought you were. But you can't build a better future on a broken past. If you're clinging to the past to avoid facing the truth of who you are, you're preventing your own growth, and that's a price you'll have to pay forever. There's also the sacrifice of the people you thought you could trust. The truth exposes relationships that were built on pretense, false hopes, or mutual ignorance. It brings you to a point where you realize that some people in your life are not meant to go with you on this journey. The truth doesn't allow you to remain stagnant, trapped in relationships that don't serve your growth. This can feel like betrayal, but in reality it's liberation. Finally, the truth demands the sacrifice of your own excuses. You can no longer hide behind the notion that you were a victim of your circumstances or that you were powerless to change. Once you embrace the truth, you are confronted with your own responsibility. Everything that happens in your life is a result of choices you've made or failed to make. And owning that can feel like the heaviest burden, but it's also the most empowering thing you can do for yourself. Because when you finally take full ownership of your life, that's when real transformation begins. Living in truth is not for the faint of heart. It demands sacrifice. It's often in the form of comfort, relationships, and even your identity. But on the other side of that sacrifice is the possibility of a life so rich in meaning, clarity, and authenticity that you would never have thought possible. Truth may take from you, but it gives back in ways you can't yet understand. It asks you to give up what's false, what's easy, and what's holding you back. And in return, it offers you freedom. Freedom to become the person you were always meant to be. Truth turns pain into power, but it's a transformation that only happens when you're willing to face the truth head on. Pain is something we all try to avoid. It's uncomfortable, it's raw, and it often feels overwhelming. Most people will do whatever they can to escape it, numb it, or pretend it doesn't exist. But the truth is, pain is a part of life. It's inevitable. Whether it's the pain of loss, failure, rejection, or the consequences of your own mistakes, it will find you. The real question is, what are you going to do with that pain? When you face pain with honesty, you stop being its victim. You stop running from it, hiding from it, and you stop letting it control you. The truth has a unique power. It reveals that pain is not something that happens to you, but something that happens for you. Pain can become a catalyst for growth, a source of inner strength, and a foundation for a better, more resilient version of yourself. But only if you are brave enough to let the truth transform it. If you lie to yourself about your pain, you make it worse. You bury it under distractions, excuses, and false narratives. You tell yourself that it doesn't matter, that it's not as bad as it seems, or that it's just something you have to live with. This kind of denial doesn't heal pain, it amplifies it. The longer you ignore it, the more it festers. But when you face your pain with the truth, you acknowledge that it hurts, that it's real, and that it has power over you. And this acknowledgement is the first step toward transforming it. Once you accept that pain is real and unavoidable, you can begin to ask, what can I learn from this? What is this pain telling me about who I am, what I need, and where I need to grow? The truth doesn't allow you to stay in a place of helplessness. It forces you to confront the uncomfortable aspects of your pain, and then it shows you the opportunity in it. Pain can teach you more about your strength, your limits, and your resilience than comfort ever could. When you open yourself to the truth of your pain, you stop being paralyzed by it. Instead of running from the hurt, you learn to walk through it, to use it as fuel for your transformation. Pain doesn't just make you stronger, it makes you wiser. It teaches you empathy, humility, and the understanding that everyone around you is facing their own battles. The truth of your own pain can unlock compassion for others. You start to see that everyone is carrying something, and that shared experience creates connection. Rather than being something that isolates you, pain can become the bridge that connects you to other people, to their stories, and to their struggles. You begin to realize that pain is universal, and that understanding it is the key to unlocking a deeper, more meaningful life. The truth turns pain into power because it shifts your perspective. It takes you from a place of victimhood and self-pity to a place of empowerment and growth. It teaches you that you are not defined by your pain, but by how you respond to it. You have the ability to use pain as a tool for growth, for resilience, and for transformation. Instead of seeing pain as something to fear, you start to see it as an opportunity to rise, to become better, and to find the strength within yourself that you never knew you had. Pain, when faced with the truth, becomes the fire that forges you into something greater. Truth is the foundation of greatness, and without it, everything you build will eventually crumble. The world is full of distractions, shiny objects, false promises, and quick fixes that tempt us to take shortcuts. But shortcuts lead to dead ends. The pursuit of greatness requires something deeper. It requires honesty, clarity, and a willingness to face uncomfortable realities. The truth does not bend to your desires. It doesn't cater to your insecurities or cater to your ego. The truth stands firm, and it demands that you face it, regardless of how much you might wish to ignore it. Only when you accept the truth can you begin to build a life that is unshakable, one that is worthy of greatness. At its core, truth forces you to confront yourself. It strips away the illusions you've created about who you are, and challenges you to see the world and yourself as they truly are. And that is uncomfortable. No one wants to face their flaws, their weaknesses, or their mistakes. But greatness isn't born from avoiding these things. It's born from embracing them. When you accept the truth about yourself, including the parts you'd rather hide, you unlock the potential to grow. You can't change what you refuse to acknowledge, and you can't move forward without acknowledging what's holding you back. Truth forces you to take responsibility for your actions. It shows you that you are not the victim of your circumstances, that you are not powerless in the face of challenges. It teaches you that greatness comes not from waiting for the world to change, but from changing yourself, from taking ownership of your life and your choices. When you embrace the truth, you accept the full responsibility for who you are, what you've done, and what you will become. You stop blaming the world or other people for your failures. You start seeing the connection between your thoughts, actions, and outcomes. You understand that if you want greatness, you have to stop being passive in your own life. You must actively shape it. Greatness also requires the truth about your limitations. So often, we are blinded by our desires to be something we're not, to reach for things that are out of our grasp. But the truth is, if you are to become great, you must first understand where you currently stand. You must acknowledge your skills, your abilities, and also your weaknesses. The truth doesn't allow you to pretend you're something you're not. It doesn't let you build false expectations. Instead, it encourages you to work within your strengths and to address your weaknesses, to see where you are and what you need to do to get better. Only then can you start building a foundation strong enough to support greatness. Truth is also the foundation of authenticity. When you live truthfully, you stop pretending to be someone you're not in order to meet the expectations of others. You stop chasing approval, and instead, you chase your own potential. The great ones throughout history whether they were inventors, leaders, artists, or athletes, were not those who conformed to what society expected of them. They were those who embraced their own truth, no matter how unconventional it was, and used it to create something extraordinary. They were brave enough to face who they truly were and build greatness from there. In the end, greatness is not a matter of luck or circumstance. It is the result of a life lived in accordance with the truth. The truth grounds you. It is the unwavering pillar that supports everything you strive to build. Without it, your efforts will always be fragile, always susceptible to collapse. But with the truth as your foundation, you can build something indestructible, something that endures beyond the fleeting challenges and external pressures. It is the truth that allows you to push past your fears, your doubts, and your insecurity. It is the truth that forces you to become better, stronger, and more resilient. Only through truth can you unlock the path to real greatness.